This is a clip where one more question is asked to today's physicists. Of course, you're welcome to ask questions too. ChatGPT is amongst the many sources. I am one of the physicists to be humbled. What makes a physicist? In a way, we are all physicists. We all try to understand how things work, where we come from and where we're going. Most of us do not stress the importance of mathematics as the tool that must be used. The professional physicist, without defining the word professional, will use mathematics and knows he or she is more proficient in math than most people. There's an edge in saying that we must use mathematics for physics. Yet, it is often said that you should be able to explain how nature works to a 6-year-old. And obviously, mathematics is not the tool. A response could be that it is impossible to explain physics to a child. Now, here's a funny thing. If you ask a physicist or a mathematician what a number is, chances are the answer will not be in the form of a definition. The answer will probably be about the same as the 6-year-old will give. It will almost certainly not be a better answer. Why? Because defining itself is hard. And also, mathematicians and physicists might believe we can always add 1 to a number up to infinity. But defining 1 or infinity has its problems and presupposes distinctions that may not be there. Adding as a word is probably most easily defined of the three. A child may think it has learned something about a number because the grown-up says so. Unfortunately, adding 1 to a number can only be done if the number is really a number. But for that we need a proper definition of a number. Perhaps turning things around and defining a number by its ability to add 1 is our best bet. It makes sense to be able to distinguish between different numbers. It makes sense to be able to identify a number. And it makes sense to be able to add 1. Furthermore, should a number be able to contain arbitrary symbols, such as the plus sign? Another question is, does infinity exist? The 6-year-old will be hesitant as to what infinity means and may only produce the answer yes if it was told infinity exists. Intuitively, some doubt is natural and probably called for. Physicists and mathematicians may give different answers, but only seldom is the most relevant question asked. Where is a proper definition of infinity? It does not seem to be in the mathematics textbooks. Otherwise, the challenge is to show us, and then I will show you a broken definition, as was done in the past. Here are some other questions in which 6-year-olds, mathematicians and physicists seem equals. Do you believe in continuity? Do you believe in irrational numbers? Do you believe in Cantor's diagonal argument? Do you believe reality is made of something? Whether you believe it or not, being able to properly prove the existence of or define continuity is beyond the 6-year-old and the mathematician and the physicist. Where they differ is in the attempt to define or prove it, and perhaps in the claim that they have succeeded. Personally, I can appreciate a child's honesty and disapprove of a professional that is not humble when confronted with these questions. Perhaps this holds us back as a species and makes us make silly claims and statements. Perhaps the difference is that the professional does not only work with definitions, but also with money, status, image, and the ability to ignore. You might ask, is all this important? And the answer is maybe no. Just accept that we cannot start at the beginning, but are forced to start somewhere in the middle. But one thing should be clear from the scientific perspective. If we find something wrong, we should investigate. In this case, we should further investigate the influence of making distinctions, as 6-year-olds naturally do. We shouldn't stop investigating once we call ourselves physicists to protect what we seem to have.